Yeah. So we'll see what discussion of Peru I can bring to the table after a few days there. I don't know. I'll ask some people their political opinions. I don't know how that goes over in other cultures or countries, but I'm unlocking South America as a
I
continent.
love it.
So
I know, I really love it. I mean, I imagine people will be definitely talking about it. There's a lot of angst around that election, and the fact that it took them days and days to sort out the votes after the
yeah,
first
well,
round
it's
doesn't help.
what gets people talking is always angst, right? That's the
Yes.
that's the talking emotion. When there's angst, there's chatter. All right, but let's jump in. Virginia redistricting late last week, 4-3. Virginia Supreme Court struck down the redistricting referendum. I feel very uncomfortable when courts strike down referendums that are directly voted on by millions of Americans, but it's the state constitution. Every state's got a state constitution. You got to read it and you got to rule
Gotta
on
read
it. I
it.
get it. You got to read it.
Gotta read the rules.
I think it's federalism. It's a lot of fun. So it would have the map would have flipped for GOP state seats. So Democrats are down a few seats. I see, and I put a thread on Twitter. I seem to think that this, in the big picture, in the long run, I don't think this will be too much of a roadblock for Democrats. I think you could even argue it might energize the base. You're looking for, in a midterm year, as much voting as possible. You're looking to get as many people out to vote as possible. So I sort of think this can juice turnout. And like we talk about every single week, the environment's not getting better. Trump is turning down Iranian proposal after Iranian proposal, more fighting potentially. So I don't expect there to be too much of a difference in environment, meaning Republicans will more likely stay home, Democrats will more likely come out. So the difference of 4 seats here is not too much. The floor is now lower for the Republicans while the ceiling is higher. So we're just getting a riskier bet here with how the districts are drawn. But do you see the same thing on Virginia?
I think it could also be flipped the other way, in the sense where it can be disheartening. Like, oh, well, we're supposed to get these seats, and man, or the government is, or the Republicans are working as hard as they possibly can to make sure
Yeah.
that we can't do it, right? It's like Alabama goes to the Supreme Court on Friday as well to say, hey, we want to redraw this, and I think that can be like a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy potentially,
Yeah.
especially for younger voters who sit there and say, no matter what we do, we can't win. And all the action at the moment is on the Republican side. And when I say action, I mean positive seat gain action. I
Yeah.
don't think it necessarily juices Republican turnout. I think it may hinder Democratic turnout, just from disbelief in the system.
Yeah. So the New York Times did a few estimates of what the national environment would have to be for the Democrats to take the House if Alabama, Louisiana, and South Carolina all redistricted. It's basically R+4. So
Yep.
Democrats would have to be D+4 to actually take the House back. Now, you say it could be. It could juice voters, but it also could discourage them. That's why I want to look at Spanberger's response and Jeffries' response, because I think there's probably one route that is more successful than the other, especially in the longer run. Spanberger
Yep.
said, disappointed, my focus as governor will be ensuring that all voters have the information necessary to make their voices heard this November. It was very much like, let's vote. Let's vote through the pain of the result
Stay
almost. Whereas,
focused.
yeah, stay focused. Exactly, stay focused. Jeffries said the days of Democrats unilaterally disarming are over, basically implying we're going to do anything we can to appeal, overturn. There was another strategy thrown out there that was, we can lower the mandatory retirement age for the Virginia Supreme Court, and then we can force them off the bench. We can replace those judges. The ruling will be thrown out. It was a classic like court packing kind of strategy there. I seem to think that if you want people to vote, you probably want as much standardization in the system as possible, but
Yeah, less confusion is usually better.
yeah. This is the split here, and this is what we'll talk about today. We're going to talk about Michigan, and we're going to talk about New York 12, and what does the 2026 Democrat look like, or the successful Democratic 2026 look like? Does it look like Spanberger, who more of an institutionalist, looking to drive voters with kitchen table issues? Or does it look like Jeffries, who's a fighter, right? Everyone's looking for a fighter. That's the main buzzword basically since like 2022. We've been talking about fighters. I
Yeah.
fight for you. If you get any like mailers in the mail, everyone's just going to say, I'm a fighter. I take on X and Y. So as we look forward, we'll kind of put those in different molds. And just to tell you that the Democrats right now are at 71 cents to take the House. Definitely a meaningful dip. They were at 80 cents. They were at one point, I think, at
15.
85 cents. So
They're down 15 cents since Louisiana Calais, and down 8 cents since the Virginia race. Virginia overturned the court case on Friday morning. So there's a not insignificant movement here, a readjustment, just because the playing field has changed.
it's going to be a bit harder with those drawn maps, newly drawn maps and seats. But and as we track the 192 or fewer contract in how many House seats will Republicans win, also a huge drop there. It was at 38 cents. It at one point was at like 45 cents. Now it's at 24 cents. So the traders are spread out across 193 to 197, 198 to 202. This is one of the harder markets to figure out, because if it's not 192 or fewer, if it's not a big Democratic wave in the House, then it's anyone's ball game. And that's why I think the 4 seats in Virginia is not going to matter too much in terms of the majority.
Right. But I think also it's interesting to see how the structural change here, the fact that they've physically lost the 4 seats immediately shows a 13-cent drop in the price of 192 or fewer. And if you look at the 90-day window, I mean, that is the biggest one-day movement that the market has seen. So it's really pricing in something that is very tangible, like a real event that is, as opposed to some sort of news story about somebody talking about something. This is a court ruling that has decided, this or that. And, I think it's this contract is down from 45 cents on April 28th, the day before Calais, now down to 25 cents. That's significant movement, repricing of the market based on the reality.
Yeah, and you're right that this is such a tangible result. We usually see trading on polling, we see trading on fundraising, we see trading on debates. Even debates are not as concrete as something like new maps, new voters, basically.
Yeah.
So I really like the point that traders are so confident that this definitely should be moving those prices, because it's solidified. It's very solid. So as we discuss the House, let's move over to a Senate race in Michigan. We've got the Real Clear Politics average is Abdul El Sayed, which we'll get into everyone's background, but Abdul El Sayed is at 23 points or average in the polls. Mallory McMorrow is at 20.7, and Hailey Stevens is at 20.3. So anyone's ball game at this point. These
Yep.
are polling averages, so everyone is really on the same playing field here. Let me give you everyone's background. Abdul El Sayed, 41, former Wayne County Health Director. He was a governor candidate in 2018. Sanders endorsed Medicare for all, abolish ICE, not taking corporate PAC money. Progressive lane, the most progressive candidate here in this race. So that's Abdul El Sayed. We have Mallory McMorrow. She is 39. And you can see each one of these candidates are between 39 and 42. So very, very interesting in terms of Michigan. Think of Michigan as that blue wall state, and all
Yep.
three of the Democratic candidates are as young as it gets in these races. So I think that's very interesting and notable here. So Mallory McMorrow, state senator since 2018. Warren endorsed. So we have a Bernie versus Warren candidate versus
Progressive
candidate here.
fight.
Yep. Won't vote for Schumer as leader. So again, Mallory McMorrow, more progressive than you might guess. Recently banned corporate donations, but had taken them in the past, so kind of pushed into that hole here. And basically pitching as a generational reformer, new generation reform lane, I would say. Not necessarily progressive like Abdul El Sayed is, but very much I like this new generation lane. I think that's probably where we're gonna put her in. You'll see those lanes in New York 12 as well. And then we have Hailey Stevens, 42, U.S. representative of the Detroit suburbs since 2018. Schumer endorsed. APAC aligned, lots of pro-Israel PAC money spent on her. Pelosi endorsed in last year, actually. So this is the establishment lane. This is the
Yep.
clear choice of the party, or at least the older party, as you might say. If we get into, I do like to look at fundraising. I think it's a good marker for how much corporate interests are interested in these candidates, how much individuals are interested in these candidates. So Mallory McMorrow, again, that reform, that new generation lane, has $3.69 million cash on hand. So that's the most of the three candidates.
Yep.
Raised the most in Q1 by about $500,000. Abdul Sayed was at 2.27 million. Mallory McMorrow was at almost 3 million. So both raising tons of money, absolutely tons of money in Q1. Hailey Stevens is behind both of those candidates. She's at 1.86 million raised in Q1, so more than $1 million behind Mallory McMorrow. But she does have $3.38 million in cash on hand. It helps to have Schumer in your corner.
Definitely.
And just a shout out for Mike Rogers, who will be the candidate on the Republican side. He's got $4.2 million cash on hand. So he's loving the situation on the Democratic side. They're
Definitely.
spending away against each other, love a three-way race. So it's important to know the numbers on both sides. But Garth, who do you think is making it known that they are the best choice? We talk a lot about electability, and in a state like Michigan that is very emblematic of that Rust Belt, it's important to see, is that progressive candidate going to take over here, or is it going to be the establishment candidate, or is it the perfect blend of the two? Which I think that's what Marilyn McMorrow is.
I mean, just a quick sense of how the race is setting itself up. I mean, and also real quick, the whole, I think Talrico and Cornyn watching. This is kind of got Rogers is watching, like Talrico is watching while the Democrats spend money and the Republicans spend money
Totally.
in Texas. This is very, very, very parallel there. But back to this, it's I think it should be interesting to see how APAC and the APAC alliance and how the Israel connection feeds into this. I think you have to give Stevens the advantage as the establishment candidate, just because I think McMorrow and El Sayed are unfortunately too similar. in this regard. They're going to kind of probably eat off of each other's plate when it comes to voters or
Yeah.
two similar voters. So that gives immediately Stevens an advantage, even if she is connected to people like Pelosi or Schumer, who are maybe Schumer is a little less popular at this point. Pelosi is, some people don't care, but at the same time, she does still have quite a bit of political muscle. Um, and so, really, the only winner here is Rogers
Yep.
in this case, because he could just sit there with his popcorn and enjoy the throwdown. And so, yeah, that's kind of a quick take on that. And also you forgot to mention it's not ice, it's nice. Who wants to abolish
It's
nice?
how could you abolish nice? I
I
mean,
just can't vote for the guy.
it's nice. They're
That's not
nice. They're
nice.
nice agents. Okay. I like in the back of my head. I really hope that happens. Just I.
I do too.
It would be a very Orwellian thing to happen
Oh,
that we
sure.
have to call them nice agents
Oh my
as,
God.
as they're beating people in the streets. Uh,
Just
so just so you know, traders aren't as convinced that Mike Rogers is sitting pretty. Democrats
no.
are 70 cents to take this election
Yeah.
in November. So Mike Rogers at 32 cents. It's the
Yeah.
environment. So that's
Oh,
why
totally.
there's three candidates here. And that's why when
Totally.
you talk about Stevens versus the other two, you're kind of, people are probably yelling at the screen, why isn't McMorrow and El Said teaming up together and, endorsing each other and run that lane? And it works perfectly. Like the three-way races really ruins everything. It's because it looks like it's going to be the next senator from Michigan will be a Democrat. So it's important to note that. But traders have Abdul El Said at 52 cents.
Yep.
So big favorite here. They do not like Hailey Stevens at all.
Nope.
They got to be underpricing the establishment candidate.
I mean, my best guess is it's the APAC, connection and establishment and Schumer touch. I think there's
They're
got to
not
be
impressed by the money too. I think that
right,
must be part
and
of it.
that as well. That doesn't help. Money always speaks.
Yeah,
And
and by the way,
that's
Stevens is the cringe candidate for all my Gen Zs out there. If you ever watch Stevens interact with people, we talked a little bit about last week, Vivek interacting with people. It's reminiscent of that. Hailey Stevens is like walking into Detroit barbershops and like trying to be one of them, and
personable.
it's it's really just not
Mm,
working. There was a good podcast interview with Hailey Stevens. So, yeah, the cringe candidate doesn't really play well on predictit.org, I think, is
no.
sort of the problem. And that's why Abdul Al Said is at 52 cents, because he's the opposite. He's the cool candidate for sure. And Mallory McMorrow is right in that middle ground. I do think Mallory is probably closest to a Spanberger comp because very progressive for
Yeah.
sure. So that'll be kind of the modus operandi if she gets into the seat. Will be pushing for progressive values, but doesn't necessarily come off like that on the
Right.
surface. And that might be the new mold for Democrats. I think being progressive on the inside and being a kitchen table centrist on the outside might be the
Yeah.
perfect Oreo for the Democrats in 2026.
I like that. I like
Yeah?
that. Are we gonna twist? Are we gonna twist it? And
How do you eat an Oreo? I
oh,
guess that's the
definitely
question.
twist on one side and the next side.
I'll be honest, I don't twist. I just eat it.
You just go for it.
I go for it. I go for it with
Oh,
milk. With milk, of
I feel
course.
like if you twist though, I mean, you get more fun. It's like you get it once and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
that was good. Oh wait, I get to do it again.
You know how I do it again? I just take another
You just
cookie.
get a second
That's what
one.
I yeah.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. And I don't know if you ever had like the thins. The thins are
Yeah,
just the best ratio. I think the normal one probably doesn't have enough cream, and the double stuff has a little
it's
too
true.
much cream, and the
Yeah.
thins are like the perfect ratio. Oreos aside.
Oreo for everybody.
We'll definitely keep a lookout because I think a lot of the polling is a bit outdated. So definitely
Yeah.
looking for a better poll before this race happens in August.
Yeah, and I would say, even just looking at the polling's little, it's this way, it's that way, it's this way, it's that way. So traders are going to have to search for some different information to make a decision here, and that's probably what
Yeah.
you're seeing pricing wise as well, outside of the fundraising money.
Yeah, those three-way races are much harder to like almost calculate in your head because
Yeah,
maybe one poll is good for one candidate, but the other two kind of hang in there and they're all just trading blows. It's tough to get that big pop of an outlier of a poll, which is kind of what you're looking for
yeah.
with a good amount of polling, especially in a state senate race. So we'll keep checking out, but it's a good breakdown of, again, progressive, hidden progressive, you might call Mallory McMorrow, and then establishment, or as I call them, cringe.
Right.
Let's move over to New York 12. So let's be clear about the constituency is very different in New York 12. Full transparency, I actually live in New York 12, so I do get mailers from these candidates. I see their people on the sidewalks trying to get signatures. This covers basically the Upper West Side, the Upper East Side, Midtown. If you don't know, it covers a big chunk of Manhattan. Think New York City, think very blue. This is D plus 33 in Cook Political reports, and this is Jerry Nadler's seat.
Yep.
So Jerry Nadler's been in the seat for how long has he been in this seat for? The 30
Forever.
years plus?
Forever.
Yeah, forever. These seats do not come up for grabs, and that's why this is a gigantic primary. And it's actually like a little bit smaller than it used to be, but the main players, I'll outline them now. There's basically four main players. You have Michael Lasher. This is an assemblyman for the Upper West Side, former Nadler staffer, Bloomberg admin alum, Hochul's former policy director, endorsed by Jerry Nadler, endorsed by Hochul. Bloomberg super PAC dropping $5 million on Michael Lasher. That's probably why I get so many mailers, because he's got a lot of money, because this is the establishment candidate. So when we talked to Bradley Tusk a few months ago, this is the candidate that Bradley Tusk said,
Yes,
Mike is going to win. Really sure that Mike was going to win. I'd love to check in with him now, because it's a very different race now that it's heated up well. So that's Michael Lasher, the establishment lane. Then we have Alex Boris, also an assemblyman of the Upper East Side, software engineer background. So that I just watched his newest commercial. He leads with, I am the first elected Democrat or first Democrat to have a computer science major or a degree or something like that, which actually was interesting and I thought kind of new. And so that whole AI piece is very much his lane here. He basically said that he passed major AI reforms in the New York legislature, endorsed by Kyler Maloney, who's a big state elected official. Crypto billionaires are dropping money with Alex Boris. So apparently $3.5 million cash infusion on May 1st. This is the reform tech lane. So a little bit different from Mallory McMorrow, but sort of the same, because if you, again, hear him speak, lots of progressive issues, taking on Trump, anti-nice, the whole 9 yards here. Then we have a new lane unlocked. We have Jack Schlossberg. This is JFK's grandson. So this is the only direct descendant in that generation of JFK. He's a writer, social media guy, basically no political experience, but and probably wishes he had the Kennedy last name, but that's okay. I think everyone kind of knows. Leading early on, name ID. Name ID is really big here, and this is the celebrity lane.
Doesn't he also have the Pelosi endorsement?
He does have the Pelosi endorsement, so that's really key here. Just because weird when you get endorsements that are that far across the country.
Yeah.
But I think it really legitimized his candidacy early on
Yeah.
that he'd get such an establishment endorsement there. I'm sure Michael Lasher wasn't too happy about that endorsement. And then we have a fourth candidate. This is George Conway. Uh, Kellyanne Conway's ex-husband. You might have seen him on CNN. He's an attorney, self-funded launch, did raise a good amount of money. This is the pure anti-Trump resistance lane. He's not progressive at all. I think he's pretty much purely anti-Trump, which we've actually seen in New York. That anti-Trump lane has been extremely successful. That's how Alvin Bragg essentially got elected
Yeah.
to district attorney. So that anti-Trump lane is a successful one in New York, which is funny because if you read all of the, I haven't really seen too much of Jack Schlossberg's campaign materials, but if you read Alex Boris, if you read Michael Lasher, they're both seriously anti-Trump as well. So it's a little bit hard to differentiate yourself there.
Yeah.
And just a quick download of the fundraising. George Conway is actually above the pack, so I think that's why he's hanging in there, because he's fundraised the most. And that's because he has a national presence, and I think he writes for the Bulwark, and again, he's on CNN, so
Yeah.
he's got a lot of money. But frankly, they've all got a lot of money. This is a seat for one of the wealthiest districts in the country. So I almost think when it comes to money, a little bit like throw it out. It's not too important, except for the fact that it's keeping George Conway in the race here. Now, let me give you a little bit of the polling flavor. There's not been too much polling here. Again, it's a smaller district. It's probably harder to poll than like Michigan, but you have
Yeah.
Schlossberg actually got 22 points in a poll March 9th to the 13th, so that one's really old. But Schlossberg got 22, Boris 19, Lasher 14, so Lasher really low there. There was another public policy poll that saw Boris in first. It's kind of all over the place. I don't love
It
the polling
is.
numbers, so I'm not even really going to focus too much on it.
Well, I mean, probably the most important thing is this AARP uh, Gotham polling analytics that just came out a day ago, at least in my opinion. Um, 50 and older voters are making up 65 to 75% of the electorate of 322,000 people. Um, yeah, that's establishment all day long to me.
Yep,
I
yep,
mean, I think
agreed.
this race begins and ends with Lasher.
Yeah.
Um, and if he's got the stamp of approval from Nadler and Hochul, you've got governor and the former, congressman. That's like money right there.
Yeah,
That's
I
collectible.
agree. Absolutely.
That's
If you know people involved in the politics on the Upper West Side, it is really just establishment central. And that's why I think the prices are so interesting on Predicted. I
yeah,
think Alex Boris right now is leading at 45 cents. Mike Lasher, you can
yeah,
get him at 38 cents. Schlossberg's at 17 cents, and Conway's
yeah.
at 2 cents. I don't think Conway has a chance here, and I'm definitely there with it. I think Schlossberg has really been hanging in there very impressively.
Hmm.
I don't think he's going to get across the finish line, but just the fact that he's come in here and been available. We also have one for will Jack Schlossberg get over 10% of the vote, and that's at 94 cents. So traders are well convinced that he is going to get
Yeah.
10% of the vote. Seems like he's no one's dropping out here. That I think that's
No.
also interesting. You probably expect at some point maybe Conway will maybe endorse somebody. And I think if he was going to endorse somebody, probably be Alex Boris. If you
Yeah.
tried to match them up, George Conway, Jack Schlossberg don't
Not so
really
much.
mix well together. But Alex Boris, again, I just watched that new commercial he just released this morning. Anti-Trump right at the end. So I think George Conway and Alex Boris might be able to kind of team up and get that last punch in there. But we're definitely seeing good prices for Michael Asher, and again, Bradley Tusk, very much involved in New York politics, was so confident that Michael Lasher was going to win this one. So right now you can buy contracts at 44 cents for Michael Lasher. I think that's a good price there to get in here. Super, super
Yeah.
interesting. But if we look at the lanes, again, Alex Boris might be that new generation lane, that reform lane, a little bit more tech flavor there. Micah, establishment lane. Schlossberg, the celebrity lane. And it's funny because the celebrity lane, I don't think it works as well on the Democratic side. I think the celebrity lane works much better on the Republican side. We've seen lots of
Definitely.
like former football head coaches
Yep.
be successful on the Republican side, or former athletes be really successful. So I don't know. I think Democrats maybe just value the practical legislating and having experience. That's been the story of the past decade and a half. Basically, post Obama, everyone's been very into what does your resume look like. The Democratic voters are very interested in is your resume, so it's not really going to help out Jack Schlossberg because not much on the resume there.
This is true. This is true. I got a little sidebar. You got me thinking about athletes and celebrities being endorsed, and I was like,
Yeah.
sitting there going, what happened to Herschel Walker? And
Yeah, what happened?
He's an ambassador to the Bahamas.
Ah, yes, yes.
That, that's not
That's what
such a bad
happens.
gig.
That's what happens when you're linked up with a successful presidential candidate. You get the
Yep.
best gig possible. Are you sworn in for an ambassadorship? How does
Yeah.
that?
Well,
I
you
think you
actually
are. Yeah.
you have to be Senate approved, and then I actually was on Sunday sitting across from the U.S. ambassador to the Czech Republic.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it
You have a
was a.
conversation?
I did not have a conversation. No, we were there at the Catholic service here. It was the priest's 90th birthday. He got
Wow.
a letter or some sort of a letter from the Pope, signed by the Pope.
Wow.
Dude was
Very
it was
nice.
very big deal. The guy flew in from Rome, and the ambassador was there.
That's
It was like
awesome.
a real who's who. I was like, whoa.
Wow. How do you get these tickets? I mean, you
I don't
got you
know.
you run in some great circles. You really do. I don't,
Uh,
and these are different from your ski group. This is completely
Totally
unrelated,
different.
right? Yeah.
Totally unrelated.
Yeah, so we talk a lot about being a senator is the greatest job in the world. I think second to that is an
Um,
ambassadorship to the Bahamas, or an
yeah,
ambassadorship to the UK, or I'm trying to think of other like just fantastic
Paris,
gigs.
Rome.
Oh
I
my good,
mean,
yeah.
like, come on,
These
Tokyo.
these are definitely, and it depends on how you value power, because
Sure.
you could argue that the ambassadorship is much better than the senator.
Though
I think you
that
get paid
healthcare,
more. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. Yeah, I
the
think you get
healthcare,
paid more if you're a senator. I would assume. Uh,
probably.
I wonder what the salary is for an ambassadorship. Maybe we should.
We're gonna have to Google that. Oh wow, that's not very good.
Oh, what is it?
It's $33,000. I'd rather
Oh,
be a
yeah.
senator.
Right. Right. Exactly. Rather be a senator. It's good confirmation. It's good confirmation. Okay, so we shoot high with the senator, and we shoot lower with an ambassadorship because
Wait.
I wonder. Yeah, I guess
Oh no,
there's
I'm
got to be.
wrong. I gotta take that back. That was the Bahamian. If you were Bahamian and you were an ambassador somewhere,
Oh.
it's a little bit better than that. It's $194,000.
Oh, okay. Now we're back on the
Now we're
ambassadorship.
talking.
Yep. Now we want.
Yeah,
So it depends on the country. What? Oh, no, no, no. Okay. You were saying if
there's
you
a
are a
base salary.
Bahamian.
Yeah, I had Google had misunderstood my request of
Yeah, yeah. It
ambassador
was Google's fault. It wasn't yours.
to the Bahamas salary, and because I was looking at Herschel Walker at the time. So
Right. Okay. All right. So I think I'll take an ambassadorship. So if anyone's looking for one, I'll be an ambassador to anyone. Actually, I think I'll take the hardest ones. What are the hardest ones? I guess China.
yeah, I,
Hmm. Probably number one is China or Russia. I guess, do we have an ambassador to Russia? Yeah. So probably those are the harder ones. I don't know, these days. I don't think I'd want to be an ambassador to Canada either. They're not very happy with us. So It's probably easier than China, though. It's definitely easier than China.
Yeah, China's
Do
probably
we
the
have like
hardest.
do we have like a Taiwanese ambassador? Or is that like not okay? I think that might not be acceptable. Garth and I will be recording next week's episode a little early. I'll be in Peru, so look out for new background. I'll give the down low on what Peru is like. I'll try to ask some people on the street who they're voting for. I don't know if that's okay, but I'll do it anyway.
Big runoff.
Thanks for
Big
listening,
runoff.
everyone. Follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/@PredictItOfficial, on Twitter @PredictItPod, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify.